On your knees! Lieutenant Sarah Chen's knees hit the concrete. 100 male candidates stared as Captain Marcus Brennan circled her like a predator, his boot stopping inches from her face. "This is what happens when the Navy prioritizes politics over capability," he announced, his voice dripping contempt. "Look at her, gentlemen. This is your diversity hire, your participation trophy sailor." Sarah's hands remained clasped behind her back. Her breathing stayed controlled. 4 counts in, 4 counts out. The same breathing technique she'd used 3 months ago in Yemen, when she'd single-handedly breached a terrorist compound and saved 12 hostages. The breathing technique that earned her the Navy Cross. The breathing technique of a DevGru operator. Captain Brennan had no idea who was kneeling in front of him. If you believe that true strength reveals itself in silence, subscribe to our channel and stay until the end of this story. Comment below with your city so I can see how far this tale of justice travels across the world. The formation had been perfect. 103 candidates stood in precise ranks on the parade ground, their uniforms sharp, their faces forward, their breathing synchronized. They were the best of the best: SEAL operators, EOD specialists, special warfare combatants, intelligence officers, all competing for 12 spots to become instructors at the Navy's Advanced Warfare School. Sarah Chen stood in the 3rd row, her 5'4" frame dwarfed by the 6-foot warriors surrounding her. She'd positioned herself there deliberately, in the middle of the pack, invisible, unremarkable. Her uniform was perfect. Her boots gleamed. Her hair was pulled back in a regulation bun so tight it could have been painted on. Captain Marcus Brennan stepped onto the raised platform, his chest covered in ribbons from 15 years of SEAL operations. He was a legend. 3 combat deployments to Iraq, 2 to Afghanistan, a Silver Star, multiple Bronze Stars. His reputation preceded him like thunder before lightning. Hard, uncompromising, brilliant, and utterly convinced that women had no place in special operations. "Gentlemen," Brennan's voice boomed across the parade ground, "welcome to hell." Nervous laughter rippled through the ranks. "Over the next 7 days, 90% of you will fail. You'll fail because you're not good enough. You'll fail because you quit. You'll fail because you thought your prior service, your rank, your reputation meant something here." He paused, his eyes scanning the formation with predatory intensity. "It doesn't." Then his gaze locked onto Sarah Chen. "Lieutenant Chen, front and center." Sarah's heart rate didn't change. She'd been expecting this. She stepped forward, her movements crisp, her face a mask of professional neutrality. "Yes, Captain." Brennan descended from the platform, closing the distance between them. He was a foot taller, 70 pounds heavier. He used every inch of it. "Tell me, Lieutenant, what's your primary MOS?" "Intelligence specialist, Captain." "Intelligence." He drew out the word like it tasted bad. "So you've spent your career in air-conditioned offices, typing reports, drinking coffee, analyzing data other people risked their lives to collect." "Yes, Captain." "And now you want to teach warriors how to fight." It wasn't a question, but Sarah answered anyway. "I want to serve where I'm needed, Captain." "Where you're needed." Brennan turned to address the formation, his voice dripping with theatrical disgust. "Did you hear that, gentlemen? She wants to serve where she's needed. How noble, how inspiring." More laughter, louder this time, emboldened. Brennan circled back to Sarah, stopping just inches from her face. "You know what I see when I look at you, Lieutenant?" "No, Captain." "I see a diversity hire. I see a participation trophy. I see the political agenda of bureaucrats who've never heard a shot fired in anger, trying to social engineer the warrior class into something soft and acceptable for CNN. Sarah's jaw tightened, a micro-expression barely visible, but Brennan saw it. He smiled. "On your knees, Lieutenant." The parade ground went silent. 102 men held their breath. Sarah dropped to her knees without hesitation. Her hands went behind her back automatically, her spine straight, her eyes forward. She'd done this before, in a different context, in a different place, where kneeling meant survival, and silence meant staying alive. Brennan walked around her, his boots crunching on the gravel. "Gentlemen, observe. I'm going to demonstrate the proper inspection of uniform standards, something Lieutenant Chen apparently failed to learn in her intelligence schooling." He knelt beside her, his fingers gripping her collar, twisting it, checking for proper starch. "Acceptable," he muttered. He moved to her sleeves, her belt, her trouser blousing. Each inspection was accompanied by a running commentary designed to humiliate. "The military," Brennan lectured, "is not a social experiment. It's not a safe space. It's not a place where everyone gets a trophy for showing up. Combat doesn't care about your feelings. Combat doesn't care about diversity quotas. Combat cares about one thing. Can you do the job when everything is on fire and people are dying?" He moved to her boots. These, however. He grabbed her ankle, lifting her leg to show the formation. "These are a disgrace." They weren't. The leather gleamed. The laces were perfectly aligned. Every inch had been spit-shined to a mirror finish. "Do you see, gentlemen? This is what happens when standards are lowered. When we allow people into our ranks who don't have the discipline, the attention to detail, the warrior mindset required for this profession." Sarah's breathing remained controlled. 4 counts in through the nose, hold for 4. 4 counts out through the mouth, hold for 4. It was a technique she'd learned years ago, in a place far away, during training that made this moment feel like a mild inconvenience. From the administrative building overlooking the parade ground, Master Chief Daniel Reeves watched through binoculars. He was 72 years old, a Vietnam veteran who'd refused to retire, serving now as the base's senior enlisted advisor. He'd seen everything the Navy had to offer over 4 decades of service, but he'd never seen breathing like that. It was tactical breathing, box breathing, the kind special operations forces used before high-stress missions to control heart rate and maintain cognitive function under pressure. Intelligence specialists didn't learn that technique. Admin officers didn't need it. Reeves lowered the binoculars and reached for his phone. Back on the parade ground, Brennan was building to his crescendo. "Stand up, Lieutenant." Sarah rose in one fluid motion, her knees unbending, her body lifting without her hands touching the ground for balance. It was a movement that required exceptional core strength and body control. Brennan missed it completely. He was too focused on his performance. "You will fail this course, Lieutenant Chen. Not because I want you to fail, not because I'm biased, but because reality is biased. Because physics is biased. Because the human body has limitations, and your body cannot do what these men's bodies can do. That's not sexism. That's biology." "Yes, Captain." "When you fail, and you will fail, I want you to remember this moment. I want you to remember that I tried to teach you something valuable. I tried to show you that there are places in this world where good intentions and political correctness cannot compete with hard, cold capability. I'll remember, Captain." Brennan leaned in close, his voice dropping to a whisper meant only for her. "You don't belong here, sweetheart. Do yourself a favor and drop out now before you get hurt. Before you get someone else hurt." Sarah met his eyes for the first time. Her voice was quiet, level, empty of emotion. "I'll stay, Captain." if that's acceptable." Something in her tone made Brennan hesitate. It wasn't defiance. It wasn't anger. It was something else, something he couldn't quite identify. A hollowness, a void where emotion should be. He stepped back, addressing the formation. "The first evolution begins in 30 minutes. We're conducting a 48-hour maritime operations gauntlet. No sleep, no breaks. Cold water confidence, combat diving, small boat operations, and a live fire hostage rescue scenario. By Sunday morning, 70 of you will be gone." He turned back to Sarah. "Lieutenant Chen, since you're so eager to prove yourself, you'll go first on every evolution. You'll set the baseline time. You'll be the example of what not to do." "Yes, Captain." "Dismissed. Get to the equipment staging area. Move!" The formation exploded into motion, men jogging toward the waterfront facilities. Sarah moved with them, maintaining perfect interval, her face unchanged. Master Chief Reeves was already on his second phone call. "I need a favor," he said quietly into the receiver. "I need you to run a name for me. Chen, Sarah, Lieutenant Junior grade. Last 4 of her social are... Hold on." He pulled up the course roster on his computer. 7932. The voice on the other end was cautious. "Danny, you know I can't just..." "I know what I'm asking. This is important. Run it through JSOC channels, Special Operations databases. And Pete, if her file is classified above your clearance, I need you to tell me that, too." There was a long pause. "You think she's..." "I don't think anything yet. But I've been in this Navy since you were in diapers, and that girl just took a public humiliation that would have broken most men, and her heart rate never went above resting. So yeah, run the name." At the waterfront equipment cage, Sarah collected her cold water gear in silence. The other candidates gave her a wide berth, some looking at her with pity, others with contempt, most with simple indifference. She was already invisible to them, already forgotten. A lieutenant commander from SEAL Team 4 approached her, his voice low. "Hey, that was rough back there. Brennan's a hard-ass, but he went over the line. You okay?" Sarah looked up at him. "I'm fine, sir. Thank you for asking." "Look, nobody would blame you if you wanted to drop. That was hazing, plain and simple. You could file a complaint." "I appreciate your concern, sir, but I'm staying." The SEAL studied her face, looking for cracks, for weakness, for the telltale signs of suppressed emotion. He found nothing. "Okay. Well, good luck out there." "Thank you, sir." He walked away, troubled. Something about her was wrong. Not weak, not broken, just wrong. Sarah finished suiting up. The wetsuit was too large. They'd given her a medium instead of a small, deliberately making it harder for her to swim efficiently. The weight vest was calibrated 10 pounds heavier than standard. The fins were the wrong size. She adjusted everything without complaint, making the equipment work through improvisation and knots and duct tape. Other candidates would have protested, demanded proper gear. She just adapted. Brennan appeared at the equipment cage, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "Lieutenant Chen, you're up!" First evolution is a 2-mile ocean swim, full combat gear, in 45-degree water. Expected time is 75 minutes. Your target is the oil platform 3 miles offshore. You'll swim to it, climb to the top deck, retrieve a flag, and swim back. Any questions? "No, Captain." Outstanding. You have 5 minutes to get in the water. Clock starts when you cross the surf line. Sarah walked to the beach, the oversized wetsuit chafing, the heavy vest pulling at her shoulders. The Atlantic stretched before her, gray and cold and endless. The oil platform was a small, dark shape on the horizon, barely visible through the morning mist. Behind her, she heard the whispers. "She'll never make it. Hypothermia in 20 minutes. Brennan's going to get her killed just to prove a point." Sarah stepped into the water. The cold hit like a physical blow, driving the air from her lungs. 45 degrees. Cold enough to kill in 30 minutes without proper thermal protection. Cold enough to shut down cognitive function, to turn muscles into lead, to make the simple act of swimming feel like climbing a mountain. She waded deeper, the waves crashing against her chest. At the surf line, she stopped, floating on her back for a moment, staring at the gray sky. And then Sarah Chen smiled. It was a tiny expression, there and gone in an instant. But Master Chief Reeves, watching through his binoculars from the shore, saw it. It was the smile of someone who'd finally been given permission to do what they were born to do. Sarah rolled forward, her body cutting into the water, and disappeared beneath the surface. The timer started. Brennan stood on the beach, his arms crossed, supremely confident. 45 minutes, he said to his assistant instructor. "That's how long before we have to pull her out. Call the safety boat. Tell them to stay close." 41 minutes later, Sarah Chen pulled herself onto the oil platform's lowest ladder, the captured flag clenched between her teeth. She'd used a swimming technique Brennan had never seen before, a combat swimmer stroke that minimized surface profile and maximized efficiency. She'd navigated the 3 miles in a perfectly straight line, compensating for current and wind without surfacing to check her heading. She'd climbed the 40-foot platform ladder in her fins without removing them. The safety boat crew radioed back to shore, their voices confused. Captain? The lieutenant she's already at the platform. She's climbing." Brennan grabbed the radio. "Say again?" "She's at the platform, sir. Looks like she's on her way back. Time so far is 41 minutes, 30 seconds. Impossible. Brennan's assistant instructor, a former SEAL Team 6 operator named Garcia, whistled low. "Boss, that's not a normal swimmer. That's SEAL Delivery Vehicle Technique. That's SDV operator-level navigation." "It's luck," Brennan snapped. "She got lucky with the current." "For 3 miles? In a straight line?" Brennan didn't answer. He was staring at the ocean, at the small figure in the water, swimming back toward shore with mechanical precision. Sarah Chen hit the beach at exactly 1 hour, 18 minutes, 37 minutes under expected time. She walked out of the water, water streaming from her too large wetsuit, and stopped in front of Brennan. She extended the flag. "Mission complete, Captain." Her lips were blue. Her hands were shaking slightly from the cold, but her voice was steady, her eyes clear, her breathing controlled. Brennan took the flag without speaking. Garcia stepped forward with a thermal blanket, wrapping it around Sarah's shoulders. "That was incredible, Lieutenant. I've seen SEAL operators take longer than that. How did you navigate without a compass?" Sarah looked at him, and for a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Recognition. One professional to another. "Training, sir," was all she said. Back in the administrative building, Master Chief Reeves's phone buzzed. A text message from his contact at JSOC. "Danny, her file is classified TS/SCI with special handling. I can't access it. I tried going through my Warcom liaison. He made one phone call and told me to stop asking questions. Whatever she is, she's so far above my clearance, I can't even see the ceiling. Who the hell is this girl?" Reeves typed back, "That's what I'm trying to find out." On the beach, Brennan was reorganizing his strategy. "Outstanding work, Lieutenant," he said, his voice acid. "You got lucky with that swim. Let's see how you do with the next evolution. Combat diving. Zero visibility, underwater navigation, mine detection. You've got 2 hours to rest, then you're back in the water. Sarah nodded.
Yes, Captain.
As she walked toward the warming tent, Brennan pulled Garcia aside. I want the dive course reconfigured. Add complexity, add targets, make it harder. Garcia frowned. Boss, the course is already at the edge of safety parameters. Then push it past the edge. I want to see where she breaks. Marcus. Garcia's use of Brennan's first name made the captain pause. What if she doesn't break? What if she's actually that good? Brennan's face hardened. She's not. She can't be. It's not possible. Why? Because she's a woman? Because I've been doing this for 15 years, and I know what a Tier 1 operator looks like. And that, he pointed at Sarah's retreating figure. That's not it. But even as he said the words, a small voice in the back of his mind whispered, Are you sure? The voice sounded uncomfortably like doubt. The 2 hours passed like minutes. Sarah sat in the warming tent, her wetsuit peeled to her waist, drinking water in measured sips. Around her, candidates whispered and stared. She ignored them all, her eyes closed, her breathing steady, somewhere else entirely. Lieutenant Chen, a young ensign from EOD, approached hesitantly. That swim was... how did you... Luck, Sarah said without opening her eyes. Good current. But the navigation... Luck, she repeated, her tone making it clear the conversation was over. The ensign retreated, confused. Garcia watched the exchange from the tent entrance, his frown deepening. He'd seen this before, the deflection, the minimization of exceptional performance, the refusal to accept recognition. It was a cultural marker, a tell. Tier 1 operators didn't brag. They didn't explain. They didn't need external validation because they'd internalized a standard so high that nothing they did ever felt good enough. His phone buzzed. A text from an old teammate. Heard you got an interesting candidate in instructor selection. Female LT smoking the course. That true? Garcia typed back. You have no idea. The response came immediately. Brennan losing his mind yet? Getting there. At exactly 1400 hours, Brennan's voice boomed across the waterfront. All candidates, muster at Dive Station 3. Next evolution begins in 10 minutes. Sarah stood, pulled her wetsuit back on, and walked toward the dive platform. Her muscles should have been screaming from the swim. 2 miles in 45-degree water carrying combat gear was enough to destroy most people for days. She moved like she'd just woken from a nap. The dive station was a nightmare of dark water and deliberately poor visibility. Industrial dye had been added to turn the water black as oil. 8 simulated mines were hidden on the bottom, 40 feet down. Candidates had to locate them using only touch and memory, marking each location with a colored buoy, all while performing underwater navigation between checkpoints. Expected finds, 3 to 4 targets. Expected time, 90 minutes. Brennan stood at the platform's edge, his arms crossed. Lieutenant Chen, since you performed so well on the swim, I've made some adjustments to the dive course, specifically for you. Sarah said nothing, just listened. Instead of 8 targets, you'll be looking for 12. I've added 4 additional mines to your course. They're smaller, harder to find. Your expected time is still 90 minutes. Any questions? No, Captain. Outstanding. Gear up. Garcia stepped forward. Captain, that's not... She said she has no questions, Garcia. Are you questioning my training methodology? Garcia's jaw tightened. No, sir. Good. Lieutenant, you have 5 minutes. Sarah donned her dive gear with the same methodical precision she'd shown all day. Mask, regulator, B, C, D, weight belt, fins. She checked every piece twice, her fingers moving through pre-dive checks that were muscle memory. When she approached the platform edge, Garcia was there, ostensibly checking her equipment but actually whispering. "He's setting you up again. Those extra mines? He hid them himself an hour ago. They're in impossible locations." Sarah looked at him through her mask. "Thank you, sir. You don't have to do this. You can refuse an unsafe evolution. I'll back you up." "I appreciate that, sir. But I'm going to dive." "Why? Why are you letting him do this to you?" Sarah's lips curved slightly beneath her regulator. "Because eventually, sir, he's going to run out of ways to make things harder. And then we'll see what happens." She stepped off the platform before Garcia could respond. The cold water swallowed her whole. 40 feet down, the world turned to absolute blackness. No light penetrated the dye. Sarah hung suspended in the void, her breathing the only sound, the hiss and bubble of her regulator marking time. She reached down, touched the bottom, and began to navigate. On the surface, Brennan started his stopwatch. "She'll find maybe 2, he told Garcia. 3 if she's lucky. The extra targets are under ledges, buried in silt. She'll never..." His radio crackled. The safety diver's voice came through. "Target 1 marked. Buoy deployed." Brennan checked his watch. 8 minutes. She got the easy one. 3 minutes later. "Target 2 marked." "The second easy one," Brennan muttered. 2 minutes after that. "Target 3 marked." Garcia raised an eyebrow. "Those aren't the easy ones anymore, boss." Brennan's face reddened. She's covering ground quickly. She'll miss the hard ones." "Target 4 marked." "Target 5 marked." "Target 6 marked." The reports came in like drumbeats. Every few minutes, another impossibility. Sarah was moving through the dive course with mechanical efficiency, finding targets that experienced combat divers had missed during the course setup. She was working a search pattern that shouldn't have been possible in zero visibility. At 43 minutes, the radio crackled again. "Target 7 marked. Sir, I need to surface and ask you something." The safety diver's head broke the surface. He swam to the platform, his face pale. "Captain, there were only 8 mines on the original course layout, right?" 12, Brennan said. "I added 4 more." "Where'd you put them?" "Under the north ledge, 2 buried in the silt near the pylon, and 2 in the debris field." The diver shook his head slowly. "Sir, she's finding them. All of them. She just marked number 7. That was one of yours under the north ledge. I don't know how she's doing it, but she's working a search pattern I've only seen once before." "Where?" Garcia asked sharply. The diver hesitated. "DEVGRU mine hunting training, sir. Special Operations Combat Divers. They use a specific spiral search pattern with haptic feedback and micro-navigation. It takes years to master." "She's an intelligence specialist," Brennan snapped. "She doesn't have years of dive training." "Then I don't know what to tell you, sir, but that's what she's doing down there." 3 minutes later. Target 8 marked. Target 9 marked. Brennan was no longer making excuses. He stood, frozen, watching the dive timer count upward, watching the colored buoys multiply on the surface like flowers blooming. Target 10 marked. Target 11 marked. At 61 minutes, Sarah surfaced with the 12th buoy in her hand. She swam to the platform, handed it to the safety diver, and climbed the ladder. Water streamed from her gear. She removed her mask and regulator, her expression unchanged. 12 targets located and marked, Captain. Permission to secure from dive operations." Brennan stared at her. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. How? Sir? How did you find them all? The visibility was 0. Some of those mines were deliberately hidden in impossible locations. How? Sarah's voice was flat, empty. Training, Captain. You feel for density changes in the silt. You map the bottom topology by touch. You count kick cycles to maintain navigation. It's just training. That's not just training, Garcia said quietly. That's advanced special operations technique. Sarah looked at him. For a moment, something passed between them. Recognition. Understanding. Then she looked away. May I secure, Captain? Brennan waved her off, his mind racing. Around the dive platform, candidates who'd been preparing for their own dives had gone silent. They'd watched the buoy count climb. They'd heard the safety divers report. They were looking at Sarah Chen differently now. Not with pity, with something closer to fear. Master Chief Reeves appeared at the waterfront, approaching Brennan with a tablet in his hand. Captain, I need to speak with you, privately. Not now, Master Chief. Sir, it's about Lieutenant Chen. Brennan's head snapped around. What about her? Not here. My office, 5 minutes. Reeves walked away without waiting for a response. Brennan watched him go, then turned to Garcia. Take over the evolution. Run the rest of the candidates through the standard course, not the modified one. Where are you going? To find out what the hell is going on. Brennan found Reeves in his cramped office overlooking the waterfront. The old Master Chief was standing at the window, watching Sarah towel off in the equipment area below. Talk, Brennan said, closing the door. Reeves didn't turn around. I made some calls about your Lieutenant Chen. And her personnel file is classified at a level I've never seen before. TS/SCI with special handling codes. I called in favors from people I trust, people with high-level clearances. They all hit the same wall. Brennan felt cold fingers walk up his spine. What does that mean? It means she's not an intelligence specialist, or if she is, that's not all she is. Reeves finally turned around. His face was grave. Marcus, I've been in this Navy for 43 years. I've seen every kind of sailor there is. I've worked with SEAL teams, with intelligence operatives, with classified programs that don't officially exist. And I'm telling you right now, that girl down there is not what her service record says she is. Then what is she? I don't know, but I know how to find out. Reeves picked up his phone, dialed a number from memory. Pete, it's Danny again. I need you to do something for me. I need you to contact Warcom and tell them they have an operator running an unauthorized training evolution at Norfolk. Use those words exactly. Unauthorized training evolution. See what happens. He hung up. Brennan stared at him. What are you doing? Setting off a flare. If she's what I think she is, someone's going to notice we're poking around, and they're going to respond. And if she's not? Then nothing happens, and we both look like paranoid old men. They didn't have to wait long. 15 minutes later, Reeves's phone rang. He put it on speaker. A voice, crisp and authoritative, filled the small office. This is Commander Wilson, Naval Special Warfare Command. I understand you're conducting instructor selection at Norfolk, and you have some questions about one of your candidates. Reeves and Brennan exchanged looks. Yes, sir, Reeves said carefully. We have a Lieutenant Chen who's performing at a level that seems unusual for her listed background. Describe unusual. Sir, she's completing evolutions designed for special operations personnel. She's using techniques that require years of advanced training. Her classified file is blocked above my clearance level. There was a long pause. Master Chief, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I need a direct answer. Has Lieutenant Chen been compromised in any way? Has anyone attempted to harm her or interfere with her training? The question was so unexpected that Brennan answered before he could stop himself. I've been hard on her, sir. She's being evaluated for an instructor position, and I've been testing her limits. Define hard on her. Brennan's mouth went dry. I've assigned her point position on challenging evolutions, given her modified courses with additional difficulty. She's been treated no differently than any other candidate would be. Captain Brennan, is it? Yes, sir. Captain, I'm going to tell you something, and then I'm going to hang up this phone, and you're never going to hear from me again. Are we clear? Yes, sir. Lieutenant Chen is not there by accident. She's not there because she wants to be an instructor. She's there because Naval Special Warfare Command asked her to evaluate your selection process. She's been documenting everything, every exercise, every interaction, every decision you've made. Do you understand what I'm telling you? The blood drained from Brennan's face. Her presence is part of an investigation into complaints of gender discrimination and unsafe training practices in instructor selection programs across the Navy. You have been under observation since day one. Now, I'm going to ask you again, has Lieutenant Chen been compromised in any way? Brennan's mind flashed back to the parade ground, to Sarah on her knees, to his boot inches from her face, to every word he'd said in front of 102 witnesses. Oh, God, he whispered. I'll take that as a yes. Expect a formal inquiry within 48 hours. Commander Wilson out. The line went dead. Brennan sat down heavily, his hands shaking. I'm finished. My career is over. Reeves said nothing. He just watched the man in front of him realize what he'd done. She played me, Brennan said, his voice hollow. From the beginning, she played me. No, Reeves said quietly. You played yourself. She just let you. Down at the waterfront, Sarah was preparing for the third evolution, small boat operations. Candidates were dividing into teams, preparing to operate rigid-hulled inflatable boats in heavy seas under simulated combat conditions. It was a leadership test as much as a technical one. Who could keep their team together when the water was trying to kill them and hostile fire was raining down? Garcia approached her, his voice low. Lieutenant, can I ask you something? Yes, sir. That dive. That search pattern. Where'd you learn it? Sarah looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time all day. She saw the trident on his chest, the combat ribbons, the knowing in his eyes. Coronado, sir, she said quietly. Long time ago. Garcia's eyes widened. I'm an intelligence specialist, sir. That's what my record says. But, sir, I'd appreciate it if we could focus on the training. I'm here to complete the selection course. That's all. Garcia stepped back, his mind reeling. Coronado. SEAL training. But women weren't allowed in SEAL training. Except there'd been rumors. Whispers about a classified program. A pilot integration that went so deep black that even SEAL teams didn't know about it. Holy shit, he breathed. You're her. You're one of them. Sarah's face remained impassive. I don't know what you're talking about, sir. The hell you don't. DEVGRU. You're a DEVGRU operator. Sir, I really need to get ready for the boat evolution. She walked away, leaving Garcia standing on the dock, his world fundamentally altered. He pulled out his phone, texted his old teammate again. She's DEVGRU. Has to be. No other explanation. The response came back immediately. Holy fuck, Brennan doesn't know? He's about to. The small boat evolution was chaos by design. 6 boats, 8 people per boat, racing through 12-foot swells while instructors fired paint rounds at them from shore positions. Teams had to navigate to 3 checkpoints, simulate hostage recovery at each, and return to base. The boat commander role rotated through the team. Everyone would lead. Everyone would follow. Everyone would be tested. Brennan appeared at the boat station, his face ashen. He pulled Garcia aside. She's not what we thought. She's investigating us. All of this, everything I've done today. I know, Garcia said. I just figured it out. What do I do? You finish the course, you run it fair, and you pray that whatever she reports, it's not as bad as it could be. I put her on her knees, Garcia, in front of 100 men. I humiliated her deliberately. That's career-ending. That's criminal. Then you'd better make damn sure the rest of this course is the most professional training evolution you've ever run. Brennan nodded, his hands still shaking. He walked to the boat station, climbed onto the observation tower, and picked up the megaphone. His voice, when it came, was different than before. Quieter, stripped of bravado. All candidates, listen up. The boat evolution will test your leadership, your teamwork, and your ability to operate under stress. Each of you will serve as boat commander for one leg of the course. Your decisions will impact your entire team. Lead well. Follow well. Take care of each other. He paused, looking directly at Sarah. Lieutenant Chen, you'll be commanding Boat 3. Select your crew. Sarah looked around at the assembled candidates. Most avoided her eyes. Finally, the SEAL lieutenant commander from earlier stepped forward. I'll crew for you, Lieutenant. Then the EOD ensign. Me too. One by one, 6 men volunteered. Men who'd watched her swim, who'd seen the dive course results, who were beginning to understand that something extraordinary was happening. The boats launched into heavy seas. Almost immediately, 2 boats lost control, their crews fighting the waves instead of working with them. Boat 3, under Sarah's command, cut through the water like it was glass. She stood at the helm, her voice calm, calling commands that anticipated the waves before they hit. Starboard crew, prepare for impact in 3, 2, 1. Brace! The boat rode up the wave face, hung suspended for a moment, then crashed down. Sarah adjusted the throttle, compensated for drift, kept them on course. Port crew, shift weight, now! The boat stabilized. They hit the first checkpoint while other boats were still struggling with the initial wave field. Hostage recovery drill, 2 minutes, Sarah commanded. Thompson, Rodriguez, you're on retrieval. Martinez, cover fire. Everyone else, maintain boat position. The drill executed flawlessly. They recovered the simulated hostage, a weighted dummy, in 90 seconds. Sarah got them back underway before paint rounds started impacting their position. By the 3rd checkpoint, Boat 3 was 12 minutes ahead of the 2nd-place crew. Sarah had rotated her entire team through leadership positions during the transit, giving each person a chance to command during a critical moment. They functioned like a machine, anticipating each other's movements, covering each other's weaknesses. When they returned to dock, the entire waterfront had gathered to watch them come in. They'd set a course record. More importantly, they'd operated with a level of cohesion that usually took months to develop. Sarah stepped off the boat, dripping wet, and approached Brennan. Boat 3 reporting mission complete, Captain. All checkpoints reached. All hostages recovered. 0 simulated casualties. 0 safety violations. Brennan looked at her, really looked at her, and saw what Master Chief Reeves had seen. What Garcia had seen. What he'd been too blind and arrogant to see from the beginning. He saw a warrior. Outstanding work, Lieutenant, he said quietly. Truly outstanding. Sarah nodded once, then walked toward the equipment shed. Behind her, the men from her boat crew were talking rapidly, their voices full of awe. The word spreading through the base like wildfire. Garcia approached Brennan. Boss, we need to talk about the final evolution, the oil platform assault. What about it? You can't give her a modified course, not anymore. Whatever point you were trying to make, it's made. Give her the standard scenario. Brennan shook his head slowly. No. I'm going to give her the hardest scenario I can design. Not to break her, not to humiliate her, but because I need to see... See what? How good she really is. The sun was setting over the Atlantic when Brennan gathered all candidates for the final evolution briefing. 48 hours without sleep had carved lines into faces, turned eyes bloodshot, reduced the original 103 candidates to 72. Sarah stood in the back, her posture unchanged despite the exhaustion that radiated from every other person on the waterfront. Final evolution, Brennan announced, his voice carrying across the assembled group. Live fire hostage rescue on the offshore oil platform. You'll be operating in 4-person teams. Expected scenario duration is 12 to 15 minutes. Rules of engagement are standard. Positive identification of hostiles, protect civilians at all costs, simunition rounds only. He paused, his eyes finding Sarah in the crowd. However, I'm making an exception for one candidate. Lieutenant Chen will be conducting a solo assault. The crowd erupted in murmurs. Garcia stepped forward. Captain, that's not protocol. It's my course, Garcia. My protocol. Brennan's voice was hard, but there was something different in it now. Not cruelty, something closer to desperate curiosity. Lieutenant Chen has demonstrated exceptional individual performance. I want to see how she handles a scenario that typically requires a full assault team. Alone. Sarah's expression didn't change. What are the scenario parameters, Captain? 4-story platform, 8 hostile actors, 3 civilian hostages. You'll insert as a combat swimmer, approach from below, neutralize all threats, secure all hostages. Time limit is 8 minutes. Any longer, and the hostages are executed per scenario timeline. 8 minutes, Garcia breathed. Boss, a full SEAL team needs 12. I'm aware of the standard times, Garcia. Brennan turned back to Sarah. Can you do it, Lieutenant? Sarah met his eyes. The entire waterfront went silent, waiting for her response. Yes, Captain. You understand this is voluntary. You can refuse. No one would blame you. I understand, Captain. I'll conduct the evolution. Brennan nodded slowly. You have 2 hours to prepare. We execute at 2200 hours. Dismissed. The crowd dispersed, candidates heading to rest areas and equipment prep. Sarah walked toward the armory alone. Garcia caught up with her halfway there. He's trying to destroy you, Garcia said quietly. This scenario is impossible. Solo assault on a 4-story structure with that many hostiles? Even the best operators would... Sir, I appreciate your concern. I'm not concerned, Lieutenant. I'm terrified. Because I think you're actually going to try this. And I think it's going to get you killed. He grabbed her arm, stopping her. Talk to me. Off the record. Who are you really? Sarah looked down at his hand on her arm, then back up at his face. I'm someone who needs to prep for an evolution in 2 hours, sir. That's who I am right now. Damn it, Chen! Sir, if you want to help me, clear the armory for 30 minutes. I need to zero my weapon and run some drills without an audience. Garcia stared at her, then released her arm. 30 minutes. But I'm staying outside. If you need... I won't need anything, sir. But thank you. Inside the armory, Sarah moved through her preparation with ritualistic precision. She selected a rifle from the rack, performed a function check, then began field stripping it completely. Her hands moved without conscious thought, muscle memory from thousands of repetitions. Strip, inspect, reassemble, load, charge, safe. Her phone buzzed, a text from a number with no caller ID. "Heard you're about to do something stupid. Don't die. We need you back." Sarah smiled slightly, typed back, "Define stupid." "Solo platform assault in 8 minutes." "That's optimistic, not stupid." "Chen, be careful. Brennan doesn't know what he's watching."
If you reveal capability, the program gets exposed.
Sarah stared at the message for a long moment, then typed, "Maybe it's time." The response came after a pause. "Your call. We'll back whatever you decide." She deleted the conversation, pocketed the phone, and returned to her weapon. Outside, she could hear voices, Brennan and Master Chief Reeves arguing. "You're going to get her killed," Reeves was saying, his voice sharp with anger. "This isn't training anymore. This is ego." "I know what I'm doing." "Do you? Because from where I'm standing, you've spent 2 days trying to break someone who can't be broken, and now you're escalating to something dangerous." "She said she could do it." "Of course she said she could do it. She's a professional. She's not going to show weakness, but that doesn't mean you should." "Master Chief?" Brennan's voice dropped. "I need to know. After everything that happened today, after what I did to her, I need to know if she's as good as I think she is. Because if she is, then I owe her more than an apology. I owe her..." "What?" "Everything. I owe her everything. My respect, my acknowledgement, my complete and total admission that I was wrong about everything." Reeves was silent for a moment. "And if she fails?" "She won't." "How do you know?" "Because I've been doing this for 15 years, and I've finally learned to recognize what I'm looking at." Inside the armory, Sarah checked her magazine count one final time, then walked to the door. She opened it to find both men standing there, their argument cut short. "Lieutenant," Brennan said, "are you ready?" "Yes, Captain." "I need to say something before we begin." Sarah waited. "If at any point during this evolution you feel unsafe, if the scenario exceeds your capabilities, you signal abort and we pull you immediately. Your safety is more important than any training objective. Do you understand?" "Yes, Captain." "I mean it, Lieutenant. This isn't about pride. This isn't about proving a point. If you need to abort, you abort." Sarah looked at him, and something in her expression softened slightly. "I understand, Captain. Thank you." At 2200 hours, the oil platform loomed against the night sky like a steel monster, its lights creating pools of harsh illumination separated by deep shadows. The Atlantic swells rolled underneath, 18 feet from trough to crest, cold and black and endless. Sarah stood at the edge of the insertion boat in full combat gear, her rifle secured across her chest, her face painted in dark camouflage. Around her, the safety team prepared their equipment: thermal cameras, rescue swimmers, medical personnel. Everyone was tense. The scenario had been briefed to the entire course. Everyone knew what she was attempting. Brennan approached, holding a waterproof radio. "This is your emergency comms. One word. Abort, and we pull you. 3 safety divers will be in the water. Thermal imaging will track you the whole time. The hostile actors know this is a training evolution, but they're going to resist appropriately. They will not make it easy." "Understood, Captain." "The clock starts when you enter the water. 8 minutes to complete the scenario. Are you ready?" Sarah looked at the platform, at the swells, at the night. "Yes, Captain." "Then execute." She stepped off the boat and disappeared into the black water without a splash. On the command boat, Brennan stood next to the thermal imaging operator, watching Sarah's heat signature move through the water toward the platform. Garcia stood beside him, his knuckles white as he gripped the railing. "Timer started," the operator announced. 8 minutes on the clock. Sarah swam beneath the surface, her movements economical, her navigation perfect despite the zero visibility.
She surfaced once, 60 meters from the platform, just long enough for a single breath, then submerged again. The approach was textbook sealed delivery vehicle technique, minimal surface profile, no wake, no noise. At 2 minutes, her heat signature reached the platform's support structure. "She's climbing," the operator said, his voice tinged with disbelief. "She's free climbing the support leg." "In full combat gear," Garcia added, "with a rifle. In 18-foot swells." "Jesus," someone whispered. At 3 minutes and 40 seconds, Sarah reached the lowest platform level. For 30 seconds, her signature didn't move. She was there, hanging on the structure, invisible to the hostile actors above, planning her assault. "What's she doing?" Brennan asked. "Probably running scenarios," Garcia said quietly. "Calculating angles, timing, approach vectors. That's what I'd be doing." "In 30 seconds? That's what Tier 1 operators do, boss."
They compress planning cycles that take normal people hours into seconds. At 4 minutes and 10 seconds, Sarah moved. The first hostile actor was positioned on the lower catwalk, his back to the ocean, his simunition rifle pointed toward the interior stairwell. He never saw her coming. She appeared behind him like a ghost, her rifle coming up in a single, fluid motion. 2 shots center mass. Red paint bloomed across his chest. He looked down at the impact markers, then at Sarah, his mouth open in shock. "Contact! Contact! Shooter on level 1!" he called into his radio before sitting down to play dead, per training protocol. Sarah was already moving. She flowed up the external stairwell, her rifle tracking, her movement impossibly quiet for someone in full gear. A second hostile leaned around a corner, his rifle raised. Sarah shot him before he'd fully acquired his target. 2 more paint splatters. Perfect grouping.
"Level 2 clear," the hostile called, admiration in his voice.
On the command boat, the observers watched in stunned silence. The thermal feed showed Sarah moving through the platform like liquid, each movement precise, each engagement lasting less than 2 seconds. 5 minutes, the timer operator announced. Sarah hit level 3. This was where the scenario designers had placed the civilians. 3 role players in orange vests huddled in a corner, guarded by 3 hostile actors using them as human shields. It was the impossible shot. The scenario expected assault teams to negotiate or use grenades or flashbangs. Sarah had none of those options. She appeared in the doorway, took in the situation in a microsecond, and made a choice. "Don't move!" one of the hostile actors yelled, pulling a civilian in front of him. "I'll shoot the hostage!" Sarah's rifle barked 3 times in rapid succession. 3 shots, 3 hostiles down. Each round passed within inches of civilian heads, close enough that the role players flinched, but every shot found its mark on the hostile actors behind them. "Holy fuck," Garcia breathed. "Those were precision headshots, with civilians in the line of fire? I've seen Delta Force guys refuse that shot." The hostile actors sat down, paint covering their faces, staring at Sarah with something close to reverence. One of them pulled off his training helmet. "Ma'am, who the hell are you?" Sarah didn't answer. She was already moving to level 4, where the final 2 hostiles waited with the last hostage, a young role player pretending to be a child held at gunpoint. 6 minutes, the timer called. The final 2 hostiles were positioned with overlapping fields of fire, both with angles on the child hostage. Taking one meant exposing herself to the other.
It was designed to require team coordination, one element to suppress, another to flank. Solo assault made it a no-win scenario. Sarah reached the top of the stairwell and stopped. For 3 seconds, she was perfectly still, calculating, planning. Then she moved, and what happened next would be talked about for years. She threw herself into the room in a diving roll, came up firing, hit the first hostile twice while still in motion, then used the momentum of her roll to spin behind a support beam before the second hostile could track her. She came around the beam from the opposite side he expected, caught him in a moment of confusion, and dropped him with a single headshot. Time elapsed. 6 minutes, 47 seconds. All hostiles neutralized, Sarah reported into her radio, her voice calm. All hostages secure. Level 4 clear. On the command boat, nobody spoke. They just stared at the thermal feed, at the impossible time on the clock, at the perfection of what they'd just witnessed. Finally, Garcia turned to Brennan. "Boss, I've been a SEAL for 12 years.
I've worked with the best operators in the world. I've never seen anything like that. Not even close." Brennan didn't respond. He was staring at the platform, his face pale, his hands shaking. "Get Master Chief Reeves," he said quietly. "Tell him to bring her file. All of it. Whatever clearances he needs to break, break them. I need to know who she is." "You already know," Garcia said. "You've known for hours. I need to hear it officially. I need—" Brennan's voice cracked. "I need to stand in front of this entire course and admit what I did, what I am. And she needs to hear that I know." Reeves was already on the boat, a sealed folder in his hands. "Already done, Captain. And you're not going to like what you're about to hear." The retrieval boat brought Sarah back to the command vessel. She climbed aboard, water streaming from her gear, her face still painted in camouflage. The entire safety crew, the role players, the hostile actors, everyone had gathered. Word had spread. People wanted to see who she really was. Brennan stood at the front of the assembled group, Master Chief Reeves beside him. The sealed folder sat on a table between them. "Lieutenant Chen," Brennan said, his voice carrying across the deck. "Please approach." Sarah walked forward, her rifle still slung across her chest, her breathing steady. She stopped 3 feet from Brennan and came to attention. "At ease, Lieutenant." Brennan's hands were shaking visibly now. "Master Chief Reeves has something he needs to read. Something I should have known before I ever opened my mouth on that parade ground 48 hours ago." Reeves opened the folder. His voice was grave, formal, the voice of a man reading a citation. "Service record for Lieutenant Junior Grade Sarah Chen, United States Navy. Current assignment, Naval Special Warfare Development Group, Dam Neck, Virginia." The crowd gasped. DEVGRU. SEAL Team 6. The words hung in the air like a bomb. Reeves continued. "Primary specialty, Special Operations Capable, Tier 1. Advanced qualifications, High Altitude Low Opening Parachutist, Combat Diving Supervisor, Advanced Breacher, Master Training Specialist in Close Quarters Combat, Designated Marksman, Sniper Qualified." "Jesus Christ," someone whispered. Combat deployments, 6 confirmed, 3 additional to locations classified above top secret. Operational theaters include Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen, Horn of Africa, and multiple denied access environments. Reeves's voice grew stronger, filling with pride. Decorations for Valor. Navy Cross, awarded for extraordinary heroism during classified hostage rescue operation, resulting in the successful recovery of 12 American civilians and 4 allied foreign nationals from hostile forces. Citation reads, Lieutenant Chen, serving as assault element leader, demonstrated exceptional courage under fire when she single-handedly breached a fortified position, neutralized 8 hostile combatants, and secured all hostages while under continuous heavy fire from superior enemy forces. The deck was absolutely silent. Men were staring at Sarah with expressions of pure awe. Silver Star with 2 oak leaf clusters, Bronze Star with Valor Device, 4 awards, Purple Heart, 3 awards. Reeves paused. Lieutenant Chen is one of 12 women to have successfully completed the Naval Special Warfare Assessment and Selection process, and one of only 4 to have achieved Tier 1 operational status with DevGru. He closed the folder. She's been here on assignment from Naval Special Warfare Command to evaluate instructor selection processes following multiple complaints of gender discrimination and unsafe training practices. Brennan's legs almost gave out. He steadied himself against the table. How long? Sir? Sarah's voice was quiet. How long have you been documenting? Since the beginning? Yes, Captain. The parade ground. When I put you on your knees, when I... His voice broke. That's all in your report. Yes, Captain. Brennan looked at her, really looked at her, and saw what he should have seen from the first moment. Not a diversity hire, not a political statement. A warrior who'd accomplished more in 6 years than he'd accomplished in 15. I need to say something, Brennan said, his voice raw. I need everyone here to hear this. He straightened, came to attention, and saluted Sarah Chen. The crowd erupted in shocked murmurs. A captain saluting a lieutenant. It was backwards, wrong, a violation of every protocol. But Brennan held the salute. Lieutenant Chen, on behalf of the United States Navy, I offer my deepest and most sincere apology for my conduct over the past 48 hours. I allowed my biases, my assumptions, and my arrogance to blind me to the presence of an American hero. I treated you with disrespect. I humiliated you. I deliberately attempted to break you because I couldn't accept that you might be better than me. And you are. You're better than me in every way that matters. His voice cracked. What I witnessed tonight wasn't a training evolution. It was a master class. It was the finest display of single-operator assault capability I've ever seen. And I've been too blind and stupid to recognize it. Sarah returned the salute, sharp and precise. Thank you, Captain. I don't deserve your thanks, Lieutenant. I deserve court-martial. I deserve to have my career ended, and if that's in your report, then I accept it. I earned it. Sarah lowered her salute. The deck waited for her response. Captain, she said quietly. May I speak freely? Of course. You made assumptions. Those assumptions caused you to treat me unfairly. But over the past 48 hours, I've watched you change. I've watched you question yourself. I've watched you give me harder and harder challenges. And somewhere along the way, it stopped being about breaking me and started being about understanding what you were seeing. She paused. My report will note that you created unsafe training conditions. It will recommend changes to the selection process. But it will also note that when presented with evidence that contradicted your assumptions, you adapted. You learned. That's rare, Captain. A lot of men double down when they're wrong. You didn't. Brennan's eyes were wet. What are you saying? I'm saying that my report will recommend you remain in command of this program, with oversight, with mandatory anti-discrimination training, and with female instructors assigned to provide balanced perspectives.
But you're good at what you do, Captain. You just need to learn to see capability wherever it comes from. I don't understand. After what I did. After what you did, you're standing here in front of 100 witnesses, saluting a junior officer, admitting you were wrong. That takes courage, Captain. A different kind than combat courage, but just as real. She stepped forward, extended her hand. I'm Sarah Chen. I'm a DevGru operator, and I'd be honored to work with you to make this selection course the best in the Navy. Brennan stared at her hand, then took it. The honor is entirely mine, Lieutenant. Behind them, the assembled candidates and instructors erupted in applause. It started slow, uncertain, then built into a thunder that rolled across the water. Garcia approached, a slight smile on his face. Well, this is going to be one hell of a story. It stays here, Sarah said firmly. What happened on this course is between us. My identity remains classified. As far as the official record is concerned, I'm still Lieutenant Chen, intelligence specialist, who performed adequately during selection. Adequately? Garcia laughed. You set records that'll stand for decades. Then don't record them. I'm not here for records or recognition. I'm here to make sure that the next woman who tries this course gets a fair shot. Master Chief Reeves stepped forward. It'll be done, Lieutenant. I'll personally see to it. New protocols, new oversight, new culture. Starting tomorrow. Sarah nodded. Thank you, Master Chief. She turned to face the assembled candidates. Gentlemen, you've all completed 2 days of the hardest training the Navy offers. You've performed with courage and skill. Some of you will be selected as instructors. All of you will carry forward what you learned here. Remember it. Not the individual evolutions, but the lesson underneath them. What lesson is that, ma'am? One of the candidates called out. Sarah smiled, tired and real. That competence doesn't have a gender. Excellence doesn't have a size requirement. And the most dangerous operator in any room is the one you never see coming. Never assume. Never underestimate. Never stop learning. The applause came again, louder this time. As the boats returned to shore, Garcia pulled Brennan aside. You okay, boss? Brennan shook his head. No, but I will be. He watched Sarah at the bow of the boat, staring out at the dark ocean. She could have destroyed me. One report. One official complaint. Career over. She's a professional, Garcia said. Professionals don't burn bridges unless they have to. She's more than that. She's... Brennan struggled for words. She's everything I thought I was. Everything I pretended to be. And she did it without saying a word. That's what quiet professionals do, boss. They let the work speak. Brennan nodded slowly. I've got a lot to learn. Yeah, Garcia agreed. You do. Good thing you've got a hell of a teacher if you're smart enough to listen. The boats reached shore at 2300 hours. Word had already spread through the base like wildfire. Officers who'd been asleep were awake now, standing at windows, watching the waterfront. The story was impossible, unbelievable, and completely true. Sarah was the first off the boat. She walked past the crowd without acknowledging them, heading toward the equipment shed to return her gear. Behind her, candidates whispered urgently, their voices a mixture of awe and shame. I laughed when Brennan put her on her knees. I called her a diversity hire in the barracks. Jesus Christ, she's got a Navy cross. We're not even worthy to clean her boots. One of them, the SEAL lieutenant commander who'd volunteered for her boat crew, jogged to catch up with Sarah. Lieutenant, wait, please. Sarah stopped, turned. Sir? His face was anguished. I need to apologize.
When Brennan humiliated you on the parade ground, I stood there and did nothing. I knew it was wrong. I knew it was hazing. And I did nothing, because I was a coward. You weren't a coward, sir. You were following protocol. Brennan was the ranking officer. That's an excuse, not a reason. I should have stepped forward. I should have said something. His voice cracked. You're a better operator than I'll ever be, and I let a bastard put you on your knees while I stood there like a statue. Sarah's expression softened slightly. Sir, can I ask you a question? Of course. If you see it happen again, to anyone, male or female, will you speak up? He straightened. Yes, ma'am. I swear it. Then you've already learned what you needed to learn. Apology accepted. She extended her hand. And for the record, sir, you're a hell of a boat crew member. That Checkpoint 2 recovery was textbook. He shook her hand, his grip firm. Thank you, ma'am. That means more than you know. Behind them, other candidates were forming a line. One by one, they approached Sarah, offering apologies, requesting forgiveness, seeking some way to reconcile what they'd witnessed with their own complicity in her humiliation. The EOD ensign was next. Ma'am, I'm sorry. I should have known better, should have seen it. You couldn't have known, ensign. My file is classified above your clearance level. That's not what I mean. I should have seen the way you moved, the way you breathed, the competence. I was so busy looking for what I expected to see that I missed what was actually there. Sarah nodded slowly. That's the lesson, ensign. People will always show you who they are if you're willing to look. Remember that when you're an instructor. Yes, ma'am. The line continued. 15 men. 20. Each with their own version of the same apology, the same shame, the same desperate need for absolution from someone they'd failed to see.
Sarah received each one with quiet grace, never making them feel worse than they already felt, always finding something positive to say, always redirecting their guilt into a lesson that would make them better leaders. Garcia watched from a distance, then approached Brennan, who stood alone at the edge of the dock. They're lining up to apologize to her. As they should, Brennan said quietly. You should be in that line, boss. I already apologized, publicly, in front of everyone. That was a captain apologizing to a lieutenant. Man to man, Marcus. You need to face her. Really face her. Without the rank, without the audience. Just two people who understand what happened. Brennan turned to look at Garcia. I don't know if I can. You owe her that much. I owe her everything, and I can never repay it. Do you understand that? I put her on her knees, Garcia. I mocked her service, questioned her capability, deliberately tried to break her spirit. And she's a Navy Cross recipient. She's saved lives while I was playing tin pot dictator in a training course. His voice was raw with self-loathing. I'm not worthy to speak to her. Then become worthy, Garcia said simply. That's what she's giving you. A chance to become worthy. Don't waste it. At the equipment shed, Sarah was finally alone, stripping off her gear in methodical silence. Her phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. Saw the thermal feed, 647. New record. You trying to make the rest of us look bad? She smiled slightly, typed back, Someone had to raise the bar. Mission accomplished. Coming home? Few more days. Need to finish the after action. Your call stands. About exposure. Command backs you either way. Sarah stared at the message. The choice was hers. She could keep her identity classified, disappear back into the shadows, let this become just another classified operation that never officially happened. Or she could let the truth stand, accept the consequences, and maybe change something bigger than one training course. She typed, "Let it stand. Time for things to change." "Copy that. Proud of you, Chen. See you soon." She pocketed the phone just as Master Chief Reeves appeared in the doorway. "Lieutenant, you have a visitor. Says he needs to speak with you privately."
Who?
"Captain Brennan." Sarah's hands paused in their work.
Send him in, Master Chief.
Reeves hesitated. "You don't have to do this. I can tell him you're unavailable."
It's fine. Send him in.
Reeves left. A moment later, Brennan appeared in the doorway. He looked 10 years older than he had 48 hours ago. His eyes were red-rimmed, his hands shaking slightly.
Lieutenant Chen, thank you for seeing me. Close the door, Captain.
He did. The small equipment shed suddenly felt even smaller, the air thick with everything unsaid.
I don't know where to begin,
Brennan said.
Then don't begin.
Just talk. He took a shaky breath. My father was a SEAL. Vietnam era, 3 tours. He was my hero. Growing up, all I wanted was to be like him, to earn the trident, to prove I was worthy of the legacy. He paused. When women started integrating into special operations, he said it would destroy everything. He said it was political correctness run amok. He said women couldn't handle the physical demands, the mental stress, the reality of combat.
And you believed him?
Sarah said quietly. I believed him because he was my hero, and heroes don't lie. Except he did. He lied about everything that mattered. Brennan's voice broke. I spent 15 years defending his worldview. 15 years being exactly the kind of officer he told me to be. Hard, uncompromising, intolerant of weakness.
And now?
Now I've seen what I refused to see before. That strength has nothing to do with gender. That courage isn't exclusive to men. That the most dangerous operator I've ever encountered is a 5'4" woman who just taught me more about humility in 48 hours than I learned in my entire career. Sarah was silent, letting him continue. I put you on your knees, Lieutenant. I humiliated you in front of 100 men. I called you a diversity hire, a political statement, a tourist. And you're a hero. You've done things I can't even imagine. You've saved lives while I was playing soldier in training courses. His hands were shaking harder now. How do you forgive something like that?
I don't,
Sarah said simply. Brennan's face went white.
I don't forgive it because there's nothing to forgive. You acted according to your beliefs. Those beliefs were wrong, but you held them honestly. You weren't trying to be cruel. You were trying to maintain standards you thought were important.
That doesn't excuse.
No, it doesn't. But it explains. And explanation is the first step toward change.
Sarah leaned against the equipment rack. Captain, you want absolution. You want me to tell you it's okay, that we're square, that you can move on without this weight. I can't give you that. I know. What I can give you is a choice. You can let this destroy you. Let the guilt eat you alive until you're useless to everyone, including yourself. Or you can let it transform you. Let it become the moment you looked in the mirror and decided to be better. Brennan looked at her, tears streaming down his face. How? By learning, by listening, by accepting that your father was wrong, and that's okay. Heroes are allowed to be wrong. By taking everything you witnessed over the past 48 hours and using it to build something better than what existed before. You're really not going to recommend my removal from command? I'm going to recommend oversight, female instructors, mandatory training, independent review of selection processes. But no, I'm not recommending your removal.
You're good at what you do, Captain. You just need to expand your definition of who can do it alongside you. Brennan wiped his eyes roughly. I don't deserve your mercy. Probably not. But mercy isn't about deserving. It's about choosing to build rather than destroy. Sarah picked up her rifle, began cleaning it. My father taught me something when I was young. He said the mark of a true warrior isn't how many enemies you defeat. It's how many allies you create. I'm choosing to create an ally, Captain. Don't make me regret it. I won't. I swear it.
Good. Now get out of here. I have a rifle to clean and about 6 hours of paperwork to write.
Brennan stood, started to leave, then turned back. Lieutenant.
Yes?
That platform assault. The precision shots around the hostages. The roll and split engagement on level 4. I've studied special operations for 15 years, and I've never seen technique like that.
Where did you learn it? Sarah looked up at him, and for the first time she smiled. Really smiled. Classified, Captain. But if you stick around, maybe someday I'll show you.
I'd like that, Lieutenant. I'd like that very much.
He left. Sarah returned to her rifle, her hands steady, her mind already moving to the next challenge. The next morning, Brennan called an all-hands formation. Every candidate, every instructor, every support staff member assembled on the parade ground. The same ground where Sarah had knelt 2 days before. Brennan stood at the podium, his voice carrying across the formation. Over the past 48 hours, this course witnessed something extraordinary. We also witnessed something shameful. I'm going to address both, and then we're going to discuss what happens next. He paused, making eye contact with as many people as possible. Lieutenant Chen came to this course as part of an official investigation into training practices.
She came because there have been complaints, legitimate complaints, about gender discrimination, about hazing, about training that crossed the line from challenging to dangerous. Murmurs rippled through the formation. During her time here, Lieutenant Chen was subjected to treatment that violated every principle of professional military conduct. She was publicly humiliated. She was given modified evolutions designed to cause her to fail. She was treated not as a fellow warrior, but as an unwelcome intruder. His voice hardened. And I was responsible for all of it. The formation was dead silent. Lieutenant Chen is a decorated combat veteran. She holds the Navy Cross for heroism. She is a DevGru operator, Tier 1, which means she has achieved a standard that 99% of us will never reach. And I didn't see it. I didn't want to see it. Because seeing it would have meant admitting I was wrong about something fundamental. He took a breath. Effective immediately, this training course will implement the following changes. First, all selection evolutions will be subject to independent oversight by officers outside the instructor cadre. Second, female instructors will be integrated into all training phases. Third, every instructor will complete mandatory anti-discrimination and unconscious bias training. Fourth, he continued, his voice stronger now, we will establish the Chen standard. The oil platform assault that Lieutenant Chen completed in 6 minutes and 47 seconds will become the new baseline for excellence. It will be studied. It will be analyzed. It will remind every future candidate that excellence has no gender requirement. He gestured toward the edge of the formation. Lieutenant Chen, front and center. Sarah stepped forward, her uniform perfect, her bearing professional. Lieutenant, I am formally requesting that you stay on as an instructor for this selection course. Your tactical expertise, your experience, and your demonstrated capability make you uniquely qualified to train the next generation of special operations instructors. Will you accept the assignment? Sarah's eyes widened slightly, the first crack in her composure. Captain, I'm still on active assignment with DevGru. I've already contacted Naval Special Warfare Command. They're amenable to a temporary duty assignment, if you're willing. The entire formation held its breath. Sarah looked at Brennan, then at Garcia, then at Master Chief Reeves, who gave her a slight nod. She turned back to Brennan. On one condition, Captain. Name it. My identity remains classified outside this course. No press, no publicity, no using me as a poster child for integration. I'm here to do a job, not to be a symbol. Agreed. Then yes, Captain. I'll accept the assignment. The formation erupted in applause. Not polite applause. Thunderous, genuine, roaring approval that echoed across the waterfront. Brennan saluted her. Welcome to the instructor cadre, Lieutenant Chen. She returned the salute, crisp and perfect. Thank you, Captain. I won't let you down. You couldn't if you tried, Lieutenant. That afternoon, Sarah conducted her first official instructor session. 15 candidates sat in a classroom, notebooks open, waiting. She stood at the front, no notes, no slides, just her presence and her knowledge. Gentlemen, I'm going to teach you the most important lesson in special operations. It's not about shooting. It's not about swimming. It's not about physical strength. She paused. It's about seeing. Seeing what, ma'am? One candidate asked. Seeing reality instead of your assumptions. Seeing capability instead of stereotypes. Seeing the person in front of you for who they actually are, not who you expect them to be. She walked between the rows of seats. 2 days ago, you all saw me. You saw my size, my gender, my age. You saw everything except what mattered. My competence. That's a tactical failure. In combat, that kind of failure gets people killed. She stopped, turned to face them. I'm going to tell you something that's going to make you uncomfortable. Every single one of you failed a test over the past 48 hours. The test wasn't the swim, or the dive, or the boat operations. The test was whether you would stand up when you saw injustice, whether you would speak when you saw wrong being done, whether you would risk your own comfort to defend someone who couldn't defend themselves. The room was silent. None of you did. You all failed. And that's okay, this time. Because now you know. Now you've felt what it costs to stay silent. And next time, you'll make a different choice. A hand went up, the SEAL lieutenant commander from before. Ma'am, how do we make sure we make the right choice? Sarah smiled slightly. You practice, just like shooting, just like diving, just like every other skill. You practice speaking up when it's uncomfortable. You practice questioning authority when authority is wrong. You practice being the person you wish you'd been 2 days ago. Another hand. What if we're wrong? What if we speak up and we're the ones making the mistake? Then you apologize and you learn. But I'll tell you something. The regret of speaking up and being wrong is nothing compared to the regret of staying silent and being right. Trust me on that. She walked back to the front of the room. This course just got harder. Not physically, morally. You're going to be challenged to think differently, to see differently, to lead differently. Some of you won't make it. Not because you can't swim fast enough, but because you can't grow fast enough. And that's fine. This profession isn't for everyone. But for those who stay, for those who embrace what we're building here, you're going to become something rare. You're going to become the kind of leader who sees people for who they are, who creates environments where excellence can come from anywhere, who builds teams that are stronger because they're diverse, not weaker. She paused at the door. Class dismissed. Tomorrow we start tactical training. Bring your A-game. I promise you, I will." They filed out silently, each man carrying the weight of her words. Garcia found her afterward in the instructor office. "That was one hell of a first class." They needed to hear it. They did. We all did. He sat down across from her. "So you're really staying?" "For a while. DevGu can spare me for a few months. God knows they've been trying to get me to take a teaching rotation for years." "Why didn't you?" Sarah was quiet for a moment. "Because teaching means being visible, and I've spent my entire career trying to be invisible." That's how you survive as a woman in special operations. You make yourself so good that they can't ignore you, but so quiet that they can't target you. "And now?" "Now I'm tired of being invisible. Tired of watching other women get chewed up by a system that's designed to reject them. Tired of knowing I could help and choosing not to because it's safer." She looked at Garcia. "Brennan was right about one thing. I am better than him. I am better than most of the instructors here. And if I'm not willing to use that to make things better, then what's the point?" Garcia nodded slowly. "For what it's worth, I think you're making the right call." "Time will tell," Sarah said. "Time will tell." That night, alone in her temporary quarters, Sarah sat down to write her official report. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard for a long moment before she began typing. The report was clinical, factual, devastating in its precision. It documented every instance of discrimination, every safety violation, every moment where training crossed into hazing. It named Brennan specifically. It recommended systemic changes. But it also included a paragraph that surprised even her. Despite significant initial failures in judgment and conduct, Captain Marcus Brennan demonstrated capacity for growth and self-correction when presented with contradictory evidence. His willingness to publicly acknowledge error and implement immediate corrective measures suggests potential for rehabilitation rather than removal. Recommend retention with oversight and mandatory corrective training. She read it over 3 times, then hit send. The report would reach Naval Special Warfare Command within hours. Within days, investigators would arrive. Within weeks, the entire instructor selection program would be transformed. And Sarah Chen, the quiet professional who'd spent her career in the shadows, would be at the center of it all. She closed her laptop and looked out the window at the dark ocean. Somewhere out there, her teammates were conducting operations she couldn't discuss, in places she couldn't name, doing work that would never be acknowledged. She'd be back with them soon enough. But for now, she had a different mission. She had a system to change. And God help anyone who stood in her way. The investigation team arrived 3 days later. 2 commanders and a captain from Naval Special Warfare Command, accompanied by a legal officer and an equal opportunity specialist. They set up in the base conference room and began interviewing candidates one by one. Sarah was called in first. She entered the conference room to find 5 stone-faced officers sitting across a long table, recording devices ready, notebooks open. "Lieutenant Chen," the senior commander said, "please have a seat. This interview is being recorded for official purposes. Do you understand your rights?" "Yes, sir." "Your report was comprehensive. We need to verify certain allegations, specifically the incident on the parade ground. Can you describe in detail what occurred?" Sarah took a breath. "Captain Brennan ordered me to my knees in front of the assembled candidates. He conducted a uniform inspection while delivering commentary designed to humiliate me and question my presence in the course." "Did you feel threatened?" "No, sir." "Did you feel discriminated against?" "Yes, sir." "Why didn't you report it immediately?" Sarah met the commander's eyes.
Because reporting it would have compromised my mission objective, sir. I was there to document patterns of behavior, not individual incidents. One report of misconduct could be dismissed as interpersonal conflict. A pattern documented over multiple days is evidence of systemic issues. The legal officer leaned forward. Lieutenant, are you aware that by not reporting assault, it wasn't assault, sir. It was hazing.
Unacceptable hazing, but within the technical bounds of training authority. Captain Brennan gave me a lawful order. I complied. That's not assault. Some would argue that ordering you to your knees was itself unlawful. Then some would be welcome to make that argument in their own proceedings, sir. I'm documenting what happened. How you classify it is above my pay grade. The commanders exchanged glances. The senior one spoke again. Your report recommends Captain Brennan remain in command. Given what you experienced, that's surprising. Is it, sir? Most people in your position would want his head on a pike. Sarah smiled slightly. I'm not most people, sir. I'm a DevGru operator. We complete missions. We don't engage in personal vendettas. This isn't about vendetta. This is about justice. Justice, Sarah said quietly, is creating a system where the next woman doesn't experience what I experienced. Justice is transforming a flawed leader into an effective one. Justice is using this moment to build something better than what existed before. Ending Captain Brennan's career accomplishes none of those objectives. The Equal Opportunity Specialist spoke for the first time. Lieutenant, you're asking us to give him a second chance. Why? Because he's already changing, sir. I've watched him over the past 72 hours. He's listening to female candidates differently. He's questioning his assumptions. He's seeking input from people he would have dismissed 3 days ago. That's not someone who needs to be removed. That's someone who needs to be guided. And if he backslides, then you remove him. But give him the chance to prove he can be better. That's all I'm asking. The interview continued for 2 hours. Every question designed to find cracks in her story, inconsistencies in her account, evidence of bias or personal motivation. They found nothing, because there was nothing to find. Sarah had documented everything with the cold precision of an operator running a surveillance operation. When she finally left, the legal officer turned to the senior commander. She's protecting him. No, the commander said slowly. She's playing a longer game than we are. She's not interested in punishing one captain. She's interested in changing the entire system. And she's using Brennan as the test case. That's a hell of a gamble. She's a Tier 1 operator. High-risk operations are what she does. Over the next week, they interviewed 37 candidates and 8 instructors. Every story corroborated Sarah's account. Every witness confirmed the pattern. By day 6, the investigation team had enough evidence to court-martial Brennan 3 times over. Instead, they called him into the conference room. Brennan entered alone, no lawyer, no representation. He stood at attention, waiting for the axe to fall. Captain Brennan, the senior commander said, we've completed our investigation. We've reviewed Lieutenant Chen's report, interviewed witnesses, and examined video footage of training evolutions. Do you dispute any of the findings? No, sir. You admit to the conduct described in the report? Yes, sir. Every word of it. You understand that this conduct constitutes multiple violations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice? Yes, sir. The commander leaned back. Then explain to me why we shouldn't end your career right now. Brennan's jaw tightened. You should, sir. I deserve it. What I did was inexcusable. I let my prejudices, my arrogance, and my ego override my professional judgment. I humiliated a decorated combat veteran because I couldn't accept that she might be better than me. There's no excuse for that. And yet Lieutenant Chen recommends you remain in command. Why do you think that is? I don't know, sir. Mercy I don't deserve. Wrong answer, Captain. The commander stood, walked around the table. She recommends you remain in command because she believes you can change. Because she's seen evidence that you're already changing. Because she's betting that a reformed captain who's learned humility the hard way is worth more to the Navy than one more officer punished and dismissed. Brennan said nothing. Here's what's going to happen. You will complete 40 hours of mandatory anti-discrimination training. You will work directly with female instructors who will have veto authority over your training decisions. You will submit to quarterly reviews for the next 2 years. You will personally mentor 3 female candidates per selection cycle. And you will never, ever treat another sailor the way you treated Lieutenant Chen. Are we clear? Yes, sir. If you fail any of these requirements, your career is over. No second chances, no appeals. Done. Do you understand? Yes, sir. Good. You're dismissed. Report to Lieutenant Chen at 0700 tomorrow.
She's going to teach you how to be a better instructor. Brennan's eyes widened.
Sir? You heard me. She's staying on as lead instructor for close quarters combat. You're going to learn from her. And Captain, I suggest you pay attention. That woman forgot more about special operations than you'll ever know. Brennan saluted, executed an about-face, and left. In the hallway, his legs almost gave out. He leaned against the wall, breathing hard, trying to process what had just happened. Garcia found him there 10 minutes later. Boss, you okay? They're keeping me. I heard. Congratulations. Don't congratulate me. I don't deserve this. Maybe not. But you've been given a gift, Marcus. Don't waste it. The next morning, Brennan reported to the close quarters combat training facility at exactly 0700. Sarah was already there, setting up a training scenario in the kill house. Good morning, Captain, she said without looking up.
Grab a training rifle and clear your weapon.
Lieutenant, I want to... No talking during drills, Captain. We'll debrief after. Now grab your weapon. For the next 4 hours, Sarah ran Brennan through close quarters combat drills with a precision that was humbling and brutal. She corrected his stance, his breathing, his target acquisition, his movement through fatal funnels. Every correction was professional, clinical, devoid of personal animosity. You're telegraphing your movements, she said during one drill. Your shoulder drops half a second before you engage. That's enough time for a hostile to acquire and fire. Fix it. Brennan adjusted. Like this? Better. Again. They ran the drill 15 times. By the end, Brennan was moving differently, more efficiently, more like Sarah. During the lunch break, they sat in the observation room, reviewing helmet camera footage of his runs. You see here? Sarah pointed to a moment in the video. You hesitated.
0.3 seconds. In combat, that's a lifetime.
I was processing the civilian proximity to the hostile.
Process faster. The hostile won't wait for you to feel comfortable with the shot.
She advanced the footage. But here, this was good. You adjusted angle instead of forcing the straight line approach. That's adaptive thinking. Brennan watched himself on the screen, seeing his mistakes and improvements with new eyes. How did you get this good? Thousands of hours, thousands of mistakes, thousands of corrections. Sarah paused the footage. And mentors who were willing to teach me instead of tear me down. I wasn't a mentor to you. I was an obstacle. You were both. The best mentors challenge you. They push you past your limits. They refuse to accept mediocrity. She looked at him. You did all that. You just did it for the wrong reasons. Now you're learning the right reasons. Why are you helping me? After everything I did. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Because 6 years ago, I was you. Different circumstances, same arrogance. I thought I knew everything, thought I'd proven myself, thought nobody could teach me anything I hadn't already learned. What changed? Afghanistan, 2019. My second deployment. We were running a direct action raid on a high-value target. I made a call, a bad call, based on assumptions instead of intelligence. Got 2 teammates wounded. Could have gotten them killed. She stood, walked to the window overlooking the kill house. My team leader didn't end my career. He sat me down and made me watch helmet camera footage of my mistake. Made me see what my arrogance had cost. Then he spent the next 6 months retraining me from scratch, breaking down every bad habit, rebuilding me into something better.
What did he say to you?
He said, "Chen, you're gifted. But gifted people who don't learn humility become dangerous people. I'm going to teach you humility, and it's going to hurt, and you're going to hate me, but someday you'll thank me." And he was right about all of it. Brennan absorbed this. So you're paying it forward. I'm doing what was done for me, teaching someone who has potential but needs guidance. That's what mentors do. I don't know if I have potential anymore. Sarah turned to face him. Captain, you ran that kill house this morning. Your first run was 2 minutes, 40 seconds. Your last run was 1 minute, 58. You cut 42 seconds off your time in 4 hours. You know why? Because you stopped trying to prove you were right and started trying to learn. That's potential. That's growth. That's exactly what the Navy needs. Over the following weeks, something remarkable happened. Word spread through the Naval Special Warfare community that Sarah Chen was teaching at Norfolk. Female candidates began requesting assignment to the instructor selection course. Applications tripled. More importantly, the quality of applicants increased dramatically. Sarah taught 3 classes per week, each one packed with candidates hungry to learn from someone who'd proven herself at the highest levels. Her classes were different from traditional instruction. She didn't lecture. She demonstrated, then had students replicate, then provided precise corrections. Move your weight forward, she told a female EOD technician struggling with door breaching. You're trying to muscle it. This is about leverage and timing, not strength. Watch. Sarah demonstrated the technique again, her smaller frame generating massive force through perfect mechanics. The EOD tech tried again. This time, the door flew open. Oh my God, that's incredible. That's physics, Sarah corrected. Now do it 50 more times until it's muscle memory. Male students watched these interactions with something approaching awe. Sarah treated everyone identically, demanding, exacting, but never cruel. She pushed people past their limits without breaking them. She found potential in candidates others had written off. A young lieutenant from SEAL Team 7 approached her after class one day. Ma'am, can I ask you something? Go ahead. How do you know when to push someone harder versus when to back off? Sarah considered the question. You watch their eyes. When someone's struggling but determined, their eyes focus harder. They lean in. That's when you push. When someone's struggling and defeated, their eyes go distant. They pull back. That's when you adjust approach, not intensity. That's really insightful, ma'am. That's experience. You'll learn it too, if you pay attention. 3 months into her teaching assignment, Sarah received a call from DevGru Command. Her team was deploying on a classified operation. They needed her back. She found Brennan in his office, reviewing training schedules. Captain, I need to speak with you. He looked up. What is it? I'm being recalled to my unit. Deployment orders. I leave in 48 hours. Brennan's face fell. How long? Classified. Could be weeks, could be months. We're not ready for you to leave. The program will be fine, Captain. You have good instructors. You have institutional buy-in. You have momentum. We have all that because of you.
Sarah shook her head. You have all that because you were willing to change. I just showed you what was possible. You did the actual work. Brennan stood, walked around his desk. I want to say something before you go. Something I should have said 3 months ago. Go ahead. You're the finest operator I've ever had the privilege of serving with. Not for a woman, not pound for pound, just period. The finest. Your tactical skill is extraordinary, but that's not what makes you exceptional. What makes you exceptional is your ability to see potential in people, even when they've wronged you. Your ability to teach instead of punish. Your ability to build instead of destroy. He paused, emotion thick in his voice. You changed my life, Lieutenant Chen. You changed this program. You changed the way I see the world. And I will spend the rest of my career trying to pay forward what you gave me. A second chance I didn't deserve, but will honor every single day. Sarah's eyes glistened slightly. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me, Captain. Thank you. No, thank you. They shook hands, two warriors who'd started as enemies and become something closer to friends. Sarah's final class was standing room only. Every candidate, every instructor, every support staff member crammed into the lecture hall. Master Chief Reeves sat in the front row, his eyes bright with pride. Sarah stood at the podium, looking out at the assembled faces. I'm going to keep this short because I hate long goodbyes. Over the past 3 months, I've had the privilege of teaching some of the finest sailors, soldiers, and Marines in our military. You've taught me just as much as I've taught you. 3 months ago, this program was broken, not because of malice, but because of blindness. We couldn't see what we didn't expect to see. We couldn't value what we didn't recognize. We were so focused on maintaining tradition that we forgot tradition is supposed to serve excellence, not replace it. She paused, making eye contact with Brennan in the back of the room. But broken things can be fixed. Broken people can heal. Broken systems can transform. All it takes is willingness to admit the truth and the courage to change. I want to leave you with one final lesson, the most important lesson I know. Excellence has no gender. Courage has no size requirement. Leadership has no demographic. The warrior in front of you might not look like you, might not sound like you, might not match your mental image of what a warrior should be. And that's okay. Your job isn't to make them fit your image. Your job is to see them for who they are and help them become the best version of that person. Her voice grew stronger. Some of you will become instructors. Some will return to operational units. All of you will lead sailors someday. When you do, remember what you learned here. Not the technical skills, those are important, but they're not what matters most. Remember that you have the power to build people up or tear them down. That you can create environments where excellence flourishes or where it gets crushed under the weight of prejudice and assumption. Choose to build. Choose to see. Choose to lead with humility and strength in equal measure. And when you inevitably screw up, because you will, have the courage to admit it, learn from it, and become better because of it. She stepped back from the podium. It's been an honor. Fair winds and following seas to all of you. The room erupted in applause that lasted 5 minutes. When it finally died down, the SEAL lieutenant commander who'd been on Sarah's boat crew stood. Ma'am, permission to speak. Granted. 3 months ago, you asked me if I would speak up the next time I saw injustice. I want you to know, I did. Last week,
I witnessed a senior enlisted member making inappropriate comments to a female sailor. I reported it. The sailor thanked me, said nobody had ever stood up for her before. His voice cracked. "You taught me that. Thank you." Others stood, sharing similar stories. The EOD ensign who'd started a women's mentorship program, the Marine captain who'd revised his unit's evaluation criteria to eliminate gender bias, the Army Ranger who'd reported a training safety violation that would have been ignored before. Sarah listened to each one, her expression neutral, but her eyes bright. When the last person finished, she simply nodded. "That's the legacy I wanted to leave. Thank you all for carrying it forward." She left the podium, walked through the crowd toward the exit. People reached out to shake her hand, to thank her, to tell her what she'd meant to them. She received each gesture with quiet grace, never lingering, never making it about herself. At the door, Garcia was waiting. "We're going to miss you, Chen. You'll be fine. Better than fine. This program is in good hands. Because of what you built. Because of what we all built. Together." She smiled. "Take care of them, Garcia. Especially Brennan. He's got a lot of potential if someone keeps him honest." "Will do. Stay safe out there." "Always do." She walked out into the Virginia sunlight, heading toward a waiting car that would take her to the airfield, to the C-17 that would carry her back to her team, back to the shadows where she'd always been most comfortable. But something had changed. She was no longer invisible by necessity. She was invisible by choice. And she'd proven that when the moment required it, she could step into the light and change everything. The program she left behind continued to evolve. Within a year, female instructors made up 30% of the cadre. Within 2 years, the first class graduated with 40% female candidates, all held to identical standards, all performing at exceptional levels. The Chen standard remained. The oil platform scenario, 6 minutes and 47 seconds, became the benchmark that every candidate chased. Some came close. None ever matched it. Brennan became the program's most effective advocate for integration. He testified before Congress about the value of diverse special operations forces. He mentored dozens of female candidates, using the same patience and precision Sarah had used with him. He never forgot the lesson she'd taught him, that his prejudice had almost cost him the chance to witness excellence. 5 years later, Master Chief Reeves retired. At his ceremony, he gave his final speech. "In 47 years of service, I've seen a lot of change, most of it slow, some of it painful. But the best change I ever witnessed happened in 72 hours, when a 5'4" DevGru operator showed an arrogant captain and an entire training program what true strength looks like. That moment changed the trajectory of naval special warfare. And it changed my life." He pulled out a small brass plaque, the same one that hung in the training facility trophy case. This is a copy of the original. The inscription reads, "Lieutenant Sarah Chen, the Chen Standard, 647. Excellence requires no explanation. Assume nothing." That's the legacy I'm most proud to have witnessed. That's the Navy I'm proud to leave behind. Somewhere in a denied access environment halfway around the world, Sarah Chen was conducting an operation that would never be acknowledged, would never be celebrated, would never make the history books. She was doing what she did best, operating in silence, achieving the impossible, asking nothing in return. But back at Norfolk, in a training facility transformed by her presence, her legacy lived on. In every female candidate who knew she belonged. In every instructor who'd learned to see capability instead of demographics. In every male sailor who'd discovered that his strongest teammate might be someone he'd never expected. Sarah Chen had proven that the most powerful weapon in any arsenal isn't a rifle or a bomb or a ship. It's the willingness to challenge assumptions, to demand excellence from everyone, and to lead with such undeniable competence that the only possible response is respect. She'd shown them that silence isn't weakness, that small doesn't mean incapable, that a warrior's worth is measured in action, not appearance. And she'd done it all without raising her voice, without demanding recognition, without breaking the quiet professional code she'd lived by her entire career. In the end, that was her greatest triumph. She'd changed everything, without becoming anything other than exactly who she'd always been. A warrior who let her actions speak louder than any words ever could.